Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for visiting today. Today, I'm very pleased to announce a special guest that we have with us, and his name is Jan Keck, and we'll be discussing a very interesting project that he's been doing. And before we dive into this, I'm just going to pass it over to Jan Keck, and he will just give a quick bio about himself and what he's up to. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. The thing that I'm most passionate about right now is really helping people who feel disconnected start meaningful conversations and find their people, because that's really what I was struggling with myself. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about how I arrived there and what I actually created. But this is really my mission right now, to just help people feel more connected to each other.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I am very passionate about that myself, and I resonate with that just because of my own experiences in my life. So I'm excited to begin talking about this. So quickly, I'll just introduce the project that you're working on. It's called Ask Deep Questions. And if I can ask you, what is Ask Deep Questions?
So it's an actual card deck that does exactly that. It helps you start more meaningful conversations. And when I first created this, it was part of a camping trip that I was facilitating. And I took a group of 7 people to Algonquin Park, which is just north of Toronto. And we did a backcountry canoeing trip. But to even get to the park, it was a 3-4 hour car ride. And I created all these ideas on exercises to facilitate on the trip, and things we could do while we're in the canoe or while we're sitting around the campfire. But I really wanted people that didn't know each other to start connecting when we leave the city, so we didn't have to wait until we actually get to the park. So I just printed a deck of questions on, actually I have the original version, right here, that I created. And it was just a bunch of questions that I always wanted to talk about, but I never really felt I had a way to bring them up. And then we just pulled a card, answered the question in the car. And even with people that I knew pretty well, we discovered some stories and things that I never had probably found out unless I asked that question. And it connected us to such a meaningful, deep level that I think on that weekend, even the people that didn't know each other became really good friends. So in this very short amount of time, people, by sharing these vulnerable and personal stories, became much more connected than they would have been if we just stuck with talking about small talk or not have the opportunity to really go deep and share those things.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can relate to that, as especially when you're spending time with people, being able to, like you said, connect with them and be open and get to know them better. Sometimes it's difficult, and I like how what you're doing, it's enabling and creating a way in order to do that. So that's awesome. So how you kind of touched on that, how they can help people, but is there anything else that you would like people to know about how they can use these cards in order to help build connections and relationships?
Yeah. So I usually love using the cards when I host dinner parties at my place. So with groups of about 6 to 8 people, it's perfect, because that's, I think, the amount of people that you can have one conversation with. If it gets bigger, it ends up being like several conversations happening at the same time. So smaller, intimate groups, it's perfect. And the way the cards work is there's 3 different categories. The first one is the curious category, and then it's brave, and then it's vulnerable. And the idea is that you can't go super deep right away. There's some people who feel super comfortable sharing everything. But there's other people that actually it makes them uncomfortable if somebody becomes too vulnerable too quickly. So you have to take your conversation on this journey. And I always say that the curious cards are kind of your beginner swimming lessons. So if you've never been in the water, you want to start with these. And even if you're a good swimmer, you want to start with these because you're going swimming with other people who've never been in the water before. So you start together. Then once you feel comfortable, you kind of go a level deeper with the brave questions. And then vulnerable questions are questions you might not have ever answered to anyone. So that's kind of you're swimming in the ocean, you're going deep diving without an oxygen tank. So you might not even get there. Sometimes the conversation becomes so great and meaningful just by like 1 or 2 questions. But usually the goal is how deep can we go in the time that we have, because the more you are vulnerable with someone, the faster your relationship will grow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving more detail about that. And what I resonate with that is being a male, and I don't want to stereotype, but I find that I've really had to work on breaking through, being open, being vulnerable. And I like how you share that the cards that you're bringing out there, they can help with that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So what is your ultimate vision? What is your ultimate vision as you're sharing this project with people?
I think what I've realized is, so I've actually been selling these cards for the last year, the previous version, and I've had a lot of opportunities to play with people and hear experiences from people just using the cards without me being present. And at one time, somebody asked me at a mastermind group, "Are you in the card selling business?" Because I was really struggling how to kind of take it to the next level with the cards. And I immediately said no, but I didn't really know what the business was or what the vision for the project was. All I knew is that it's not just about cards. It's much, much bigger than that. And in a way, the cards is one tool to help people create these meaningful relationships. But I'm also creating other things, or I'm planning to create other things that do the same thing. And one of the exciting projects I've been working on is running different events and workshops, because I think the 2 ingredients that are needed for people to connect is a shared meaningful experience and then the opportunity to go vulnerable.
Okay. Well, if I may ask, what types of events is it? If you can just give a little bit of detail, what type of events are they that you run?
So I think, yeah, you froze there for a second.
Sorry. Okay. I
I
was just asking, what type of events is it that you run in, is it Toronto? Am I cutting off again? Sorry.
Yeah. So one of the events that I've been running this summer, which I was quite excited to do, it was called the Campfire Conversations, because in the city of Toronto, you can rent a campfire in the park. At the same time, I facilitated different activities to help people open up and get to know each other, connect. And the same way as I have 3 categories in the cards, my events usually start with something that is just below the surface. And then we go a little bit deeper, and by the end, there's at least one exercise, share something much more vulnerable. One of it is, which is from the movie The Mask You Live In, which is about toxic masculinity, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And they do this exercise where they have everyone take a piece of paper or a card, and on one side they write down, they draw a mask, and they write down, what is it that you show to everyone? And on the back you write down, what is it that you don't show to anyone? Like, what are the things that you really feel, but you're maybe too scared to admit? So people would write things like, I'm always happy, I'm super connected, I'm confident. And then on the back, they would write things like, I'm lonely, I feel disconnected, I feel like an imposter. And it's sharing these things in a circle of people where you realize that, oh my God, I'm not the only one. Everyone has, like, it's so interesting because we shuffle the cards and then we read out a couple anonymously. And it's so interesting to see that there's a theme. There's always a theme. People have very similar things that they're hiding under their masks.
Hmm. And do you find that, like, obviously people are kind of hesitant about opening up? Is there, when you mention a theme, is there usually a common theme that comes up?
I think the people that I've been attracting, like loneliness or feeling disconnected or feeling alone, like you have a lot of connections, but you don't have a lot of real friends. That seems to be definitely a theme for my events.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that, and I can see how your cards, they would definitely help with helping someone to overcome some of those fears and to open up, and like you said earlier, to be vulnerable, and that's how we ultimately are able to create those really strong relationships.
Yeah, and I also would say that most people don't really know what it feels like having that type of conversation just by hearing about this deck of cards. Like, you actually have to experience it. And anytime I host a dinner or an event, at the end, people, they get it. They know why this is so important, and that they realize that they need a lot more in their lives than they're having right now.
That's amazing. And I really want to acknowledge and appreciate what you're doing and how you're contributing to helping open up relationships and build connections. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing because I was at a point where I needed that myself. And I think, like so many people, I was totally unaware that I needed it. It's funny how sometimes you only realize what you're missing once you find it. Like, I went to this weekend retreat now, I think 3 years ago. And in that weekend, I made 30 new friends. And at the end, I really felt what belonging, like true belonging, really feels like. And it was in that moment where I realized, oh my God, that's what was missing from my life. And like, I grew up in Germany. I moved to Canada 10 years ago. So it was about 7-8 years before I felt that, and then realized that's what I want. And once you know what you want, it's much easier to take actions towards it. So I'm hoping with the events and the cards, more people will realize that that's something that is really necessary to live a happy and fulfilling life.
That's great. And there's a lot of gold tidbits that you just shared there. So I really appreciate that. And I hope that people that are watching this can really take away some of those things as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So if I might ask you, where can they pick up these cards? Where can they purchase them? And if you want to explain a little bit about your Kickstarter campaign that you have starting right now.
Yeah. So like I said, there's like a first version with like a hand-drawn logo that has changed many, many times to like the new box right now that has like this fancy system to pull out the cards. But every box has 48 questions. So it's, I always forget, 16 of each category. And the idea is, with the Kickstarter campaign, is now I can produce those cards in a much larger quantity. And also it will save me a lot of time, because in between those two sets, there was a box. Let me grab it. This was the box in between, which I went and I got these white label boxes. I printed a sticker. I attached the sticker to the box. I organized all the cards so everybody has the same 48 questions. And sometimes I would make mistakes. And then I would ship it out to people. And it was just a lot of work and very labor intensive. And although I put a lot of love in all the cards, sometimes it would just hold me back from getting the cards to more people. So now, being a new dad with a 3.5-week-old baby, I feel like I want to spend more time with my family and less time packaging cards and just get them out as fast as I can. So I'm going with a bigger order. I'm actually ordering 1,000 decks, which is pretty terrifying, because you have to put out I have to put it all on my credit card to get it ordered and put out the expense, and I would only make the money back once I actually sell them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm launching now a Kickstarter campaign. Actually, it has launched 2 days ago, and last time I checked today, we were 42% funded already, which is pretty amazing. And again, it shows that done a lot of work in finding my people and finding my community, because I don't think I could have a campaign that successful if I did everything myself. So having people like you who are open to interview me once the campaign goes live and share my message, other people sharing the campaign on Facebook was really important. Yeah, and now you can get different rewards of the deck, like different quantities depending on if you want to get an extra one as a gift, as I am definitely planning to get those cards in front of people by the holidays, by the end of the year. And there's a couple of extra rewards around like dinner parties, or if you're a facilitator or run workshops, this would also be a great tool you can use to help connect your attendees. So there's a couple of perks and rewards on that as well.
Nice. Well, that was a lot of great information, and I think you helped create some awareness for people that are very interested in this. And anyone watching, I just want to encourage you to explore and learn more about this, because I share the same value in connection. I think it's so important in our family life and society. I think it helps with a lot of different things for life improvement. So I will definitely share some of these links in the show notes so that people can access this easier and find you better. And I guess before we close, I just want to ask, do you have any closing insights or messages that you want to share with people?
I think there's one saying that has literally changed my life, and it was at that retreat that I heard it, I think, for the first time, or it's really sunk in that weekend, which is your vibe attracts your tribe. And I've realized that if you are not confident enough to really put out your true self, like if you are wearing masks, if you are pretending to be someone that you're not, then you're also attracting other people that are pretending and wearing masks. And you will never be fulfilled by the people that you connect with. So if you really want to find your people, the very, very first step is getting very clear on who you are, which is scary sometimes and not easy, but that's the first step. Like before you even go out and try to find people that you can create meaningful relationships with, you need to get clear on what does it actually mean to you. Like, what does it mean to you to have a relationship? What is required from you? Like, one of the questions in here is actually, what do you value most in a friendship? Like, that's a question you need to ask yourself before you even look for your friends.
Those are very insightful words, and I just want to say thank you so much for sharing those. I think a lot of people can really take a moment just to reflect on that and look at what it is that they want. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Jan, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and for sharing this really amazing project that I wholeheartedly support, and I know that a lot of people will be behind this as well. So thank you so much, and I wish you a wonderful day with your family and all the things that you're creating right now.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.